Hey, welcome to Manotick StringWorks. So here you go. On the bench I've got a Goudie Stratocaster style guitar. Never seen one of these before, never had one on the bench. Not a bad little guitar, a sunburst, fixed bridge, string through setup, an HSS, so humbucker, 2 single coils. There's the headstock, Goudie, it's made in Canada. It does have locking tuners as well. So what I like to do when I start off any project is go over the electronics, see if everything works. Client said everything was working fine, so just double checking, making sure nothing's loose. So you just do the little tap test with a screwdriver or something metal onto the pickups, and you'll be able to tell if the selector switch is working correctly, and if the wiring is still good. So everything seems to check out. No undue buzzing or crazy sounds, popping, anything like that, so that's good. After that, I like to check pickup height, string height, neck relief. So we'll start with the pickup height using my homemade gauge here. So I have brass rods and 1/8 of an inch and 3/32. 1/8 of an inch is the height I like it for the bass side, and 3/32 for the treble side. Hold down the string at the last fret and then check and see what height you have underneath the string to the top of the pickup. In this case they're way too low. So now again, another homemade gauge in 5 and 6/64 as well as a 4/64 gauge. I'm going to use that to check the string height at the 17th fret on this guitar. Again, pass it underneath the string in the fret, top of the fret, and if you don't hear any noise, you have room. If you hear noise or it stops, it can't get under. It's just an easier way to check the height without having to flip the guitar up and down, use a string gauge ruler. And honestly, I have to use a magnifying glass these days, so this is a lot easier. Plus, if you just tap the top of the string to the gauge, you can hear if there's space too, which is so you get an audio or an audible sound as well. Alright, now I'll check the neck relief. Yeah, it looked way too low. A lot of buzzing on this guitar, so I suspect that it will be low. I like to see 12 thousandths of an inch at the 7th fret, and I'm not alone at that. That's a pretty standard spec across the board for most guitars. Some are a little lower, 10 thousandths, but 12 seems to work for most guitars. Yeah, I could hardly, you might be able to hear that on the audio, but I could barely push the feeler gauge underneath, so let's try a 10 thousandth. Again, it's still scraping up against it, so it's probably around the 6 or 7 thousandths of an inch only relief, which is way too low. So just using a fret rocker, just checking to see if there are any high spots that would cause the buzzing. I did pick one out on the 13th fret. Also found one on the 11th fret a little later on. So maybe I'll just do a little spot leveling on those sites and see what happens. Let's check the nut. Don't think anyone's ever used it. It's dusty. I don't see it being stripped out or any marks, scratches or anything, so I think we're in luck. Hopefully it works. So loosen the strings up. Oh, yeah, there we go. So lefty loosey, righty tighty. Counterclockwise to loosen, clockwise to tighten when you're looking at the nut. String it back to pitch, check the neck relief. That's a lot better now. I'll obviously adjust it, do a final adjustment once the strings have been changed. and we do the final setup, but for now I want to make sure that it's working, and it does seem to be working, so that's good. It slipped under there just nicely. You can just sort of feel it touch the gauge, just a little hair, and you know you've got it right. Alright, one last check is the action at the first fret. And you can hold down the strings at the third fret and use your thumb finger, feel how high it is. In this case it was pretty low. I like to see, around 22 thousandths is a good amount. But you can get away with 18 or 20 depending on the guitar and the setup. This one was right around 20 thousandths, so actually the nut action was quite good. Alright, so we have locking tuners. We're going to loosen them up. They're not branded, so I'm not sure what kind they are. But they're easy to loosen up and take the strings out. No problems there. I do like locking tuners. I like to stand the body up so I clip the strings off a bit so they're not flopping all over the place. Stand the body up on its side and just push the strings right through. I'll clean up the fretboard. Lots of dirt on there, grime. Just using a standard cleaner, simple green. Environmentally friendly apparently. So it cleans up the fretboard pretty well. You can clean the whole guitar up with this too if it's you feel you need to. I just want to clean that, get all the grime off of there. Now I'm just using fret erasers to clean the tops of the frets. I like these. They're fast, they're easy. This is not a leveling job or anything like that. It's really just to clean and give them a little bit of a polish, so it's a little easier to bend when you're playing. You don't feel like the string is sticking. So there's 3 grits. I think they're 180, 150, 180, 400, and 1,000, something like that. So the nut was loose on this guitar. It was snug but loose enough to come out, which is fine. It doesn't have to be glued in. But it was a little wide, so it could be shaped down, but I just pressed it back in there, and then the string pressure is going to keep it in there. And just a little fret conditioner. A Dunlop 65, put that on, let it soak on for 30 seconds, and wipe it off. You could put 2 coats on if you like. Some people like them oily, the fretboards, some people like them drier. I think every time you do a string change you should give them a quick rub. The client had selected 11s, a little heavier gauge for this type of guitar. So again, I flip the guitar on its side because it's a string through body design, and I'll push the strings through one by one. Sometimes it's a little hard to get it through the hole in the saddle, but you just keep pushing it through. Eventually it'll wiggle it around, eventually it will come out. I find that's the quickest way, standing the guitar up on its edge like that. I did stab myself a couple of times with the string ends though. Alright, so locking tuners, push the string through the tuner, pull it tight, lock it down, and repeat. I don't cut the string ends off yet, in case you have to pull it out for whatever reason. So I leave them long, or I might trim them down a little bit. They do get in the way, but I like to leave a few inches of string until the very end, in case you do have to pull these strings out. It's very difficult to restring it if you clip them right to the tuning peg. then you basically just have to get new strings. Again, locking tuners makes it pretty easy to restring, that's for sure. So stretching the strings out, you can pull them all the way up, you can put your finger down at halfway, pull on them, whatever your technique is, as long as you stretch them a few times. The strings will take a little while to normalize. Yeah, so here I'm just clipping them back a little bit. They're a little too long. Like I said, keep 2-3 inches, so if you do have to restring, you can grab the string and pull it through again. Otherwise, you are SOL. Alright, the string action now. Again, I like to see 5/64, so using the gauge I can drop the saddle down. Now dropping them down, you don't have to loosen the string, so that's easier. Better if it's higher, you can drop it down than trying to raise it. So again, I tap tap, I can hear a noise. If I don't hear a noise, it means it's right on the brass rod. So a little easier. Now, I'll double check with the ruler later on, but this usually gives a really good result. Easier, faster to do. Now the pickup height, again, they were really low, so I'm going to bring these right up. The pickup side, on the treble side, you really couldn't bring them up as high as I'd like. But that was a limitation that with the guitar, so it wasn't bad, but the humbucker worked out okay though, on both sides, the bass and the treble. So now I'm just going to go back. The 11th and the 13th did have, after it was strung up and I was testing it out, did have some buzz there, I believe, a little high fret, so I'll use a fret crowning file and knock them down a little bit, not be too aggressive. This guitar probably could use the frets from the 10th right to the end, 21st, 22nd fret, knocked down a little bit uniformly, just so there's no buzz on any of the strings, if you want to get the action a lot lower, like down to 4/64. Alright, so that's done. So just checking the string height again, and everything seems to be okay where I want it. I did raise the G and the D up just a little bit. Just to, because I didn't do a whole fret leveling job, I wanted to make sure there wasn't any buzz. Checking the intonation, which is pretty good. Clip off those string ends. Looks nice and tidy, plus you won't stab yourself every time you go to tune. And just playing around. Not a bad little guitar. So thanks for watching. Hope you like and subscribe, and try and get a few more videos out there. Bye for now.